audio as well. So anything you say can and will be used. Dang, bro, I was going to say on YouTube.
Yeah.
But so be it, yeah. All right, let's see here. Check 1, 2. Oh, yeah.
Are we good?
Yep, you and I are coming through good.
How about me? Am I coming through good?
Yeah, you are coming too good.
Good.
Did you hear what I said there?
Coming too good.
Too good.
Yeah.
Looking fresh, my man, with the fresh haircut. Looking really nice.
Thank you. Brought to you by Stacy Carter.
Oh,
Ebb and
yeah.
Flow.
Is that the name of the
Yeah.
place, Ebb and Flow?
Yeah. It's awesome.
Where is it? We can do that.
It
Where
is on 1808 Monroe.
Oh, downtown.
Yeah, she just moved.
Dang, man.
And she's got a barber that's been cutting for 30 years. in
That's
there with her.
legit.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So did she cut your hair? Or did the barber cut your hair?
She did.
Okay.
She's been cutting my hair
Man,
for
that's
probably
a clean line.
past 6 months. Very reasonably priced and very detailed.
Sounds like we might have to podcast from her location.
And why not?
Haircuts, I don't even know, bad.
Why not pay somebody local
Yeah.
who's working hard with a great mission compared
absolutely.
to giving your money to a corporation where you're just a number
And part of the church family,
and part of the church family.
man. Which you don't have to be. You don't got to be part of the church family for us to like be friends with you and spend our money at your organizations.
It's true.
But dang, it helps. It does. How do we get to know people other than that? All right, well, here we go. Let's properly intro this thing for the first time ever. NGRN presents the ForkerBurger Podcast with your host, Jake, with our featured guest, Kyle Kelly. We are talking to Kyle this morning. He is an amazing individual, ranking high, beginning to anyway, in the financial industry here in West Michigan, working for a very good friend of all of ours, Mr. Paul Damon, Family Capital Management. Rising in the ranks there. Also, your servant heart is absolutely exploding here at Tribes Church. We thank you for that a whole bunch. We've got the Tribes logo behind us here. And yeah, you're just an all-around good guy and good looking. We can say that, man. We can say it. And historically, I didn't say that right. This is a historic moment. You're our first guest.
We'll check that out.
It's a big deal, man.
It's the inaugural.
It's a big deal. The inaugural guest. I don't know if we would. No one else would do it. That's.
Oh, there you go.
I'm just kidding.
That's a testament to what you've already said.
Yeah, we've got people on the schedule.
A servant heart at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday.
Yeah, no one else will. Yeah, no one else will come to this time slot. But that's kind of why we designed it this way, because we figure if we're gonna do it, we'll do it any time, because it's our thing.
And if motive, if somebody really wants to do it, then they'll be here this early.
They'll be here, and they will have a good story to tell.
Yes.
Which you have. You got the questions, my man.
I do.
I'll let you ask the questions, and I'll throw stuff in along the way, and he'll tell the stories. So go ahead, rock and roll it. Ooh.
So how did I meet my wife? We met probably the way I describe it is through a friend. I was 21 years old. She was 27.
Careful.
She was 27. Yeah, the old age thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm married to the young lady that is older than me, so I get it.
Yeah, she snatched me from the cradle.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, she's gonna. Not enough people watch this yet. She won't listen to it.
But, so we met through friends, and basically, me being 21, I looked. She had already had. I would come over on Fridays for bonfires, and she's having a bonfire, and all her friends are there as well. I show up, and I'm just hanging out, enjoying myself. I go inside to grab an iced tea.
Oh yeah.
Because we did iced teas by the fire, for sure. It was iced teas.
Is this a summertime fire?
Yeah, this is a summertime
Okay,
fire.
so iced tea is appropriate. Lipton's brisk iced tea. Lipton, give us a call.
And so I go inside, and there's a cute little kid as I'm grabbing in the fridge, and I have a heart for kids anyway. So I'm just kind of making small conversation. I head back out, and then it's maybe 10 minutes. We're all sitting around talking, and 3 kids come outside, and they go up to Lisa, and they're saying, Mom, can I have this?
This is your first introduction to.
This is
Wow, this chick's got kids.
So I hit the brake pedal because I'm 21 years old, and I'm thinking, I like her, but I don't know if I'm ready for 3 kids. And so this progresses, and about a year goes by, and at that point, we basically went out one night and decided that there was more to us than just the friendship thing.
How long you have been friends at the point of this bonfire?
She was probably the first woman that I was ever friends with first, and not intimate first.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Trying to turn it into a friendship. So
okay.
For her, it was probably about 6-7 months.
Okay, at the time of the bonfire,
yeah,
6-7 months you're friends, but also first introduction to her kids.
Yes.
Then you go out as friends, but figure out, okay,
yes,
this is something legitimately special.
Yes, and I mean it came with its bumps. She was working at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I was working at a car wash, making $8 an hour.
Oh, right on. It's money, man.
And maybe 20 hours a week.
Okay, not a lot of money, but it's some money.
We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment. Well, she would tell me it's 2, but we keep arguing about that because I don't remember anymore. But we were sleeping on a blow-up mattress.
Oh, Ben.
I remember that much.
Oh, we're similar.
$30,000 in credit card debt, and my job didn't really provide enough for me to pay the car payment that I should have never got in the first place, or help put groceries in the fridge. So we were here we are with 3 kids. She's been divorced. I'm 21 years old. Both of us are making minimum wage jobs, and things started to click for me. Hey, I need to do something different. If I really care about this situation that I'm in and I really want to make something of it, well, then something's got to change, because with the current state that we're in, this is never going to work. And it's not that love's not there. It's just that love's not enough when you're talking about marriage, or you're talking about wanting to spend long term with somebody.
Dang, you went deep super quick right there. Love's, because a lot of people say, all we need is love. No. But love's not enough when you're talking about marriage. Oh my goodness. So many different things need to be expressed out of that love to make things work. Quick question, I want to jump in here. Is this an internal monologue that you're having along the way, or are you and Lisa talking to each other about the stuff that you were just saying?
It was probably more of an internal monologue. As we're going by, we're still in that lovey-dovey phase, but I'm still thinking deeper about it. So yeah, I would say it was more of a back and forth. I mean, there were things that were already like becoming signs, like in the relationship. Like we both knew that this isn't what we want the rest of our life. Just neither one of us knew how to get out of it.
Okay, gotcha. So she knew she didn't want to be working at Buffalo Wild Wings. You knew you didn't want to be doing the car wash thing. Maybe in the future own a car wash, but definitely not working there 20 hours a week, $8 an hour.
Kind of a neat segue story to the car wash thing. I don't
do it.
I know we got limited time, but
well, we have 60 minutes. We have 59. I don't know why we set that, but that's what we got.
I'm already contemplating getting in the military. I'm going through the process to get into the military, and I'm picking up extra hours at the car wash. Really like my manager there. His name is Jason. And one day I'm calling and I'm picking up everybody else's shifts. I'm working hard. I'm making really good tips at the car wash. I was making like $60-$70 a day when I'd work just in tips.
Whoa. I don't even think, do people still do tips at car washes?
I don't know.
I don't.
But they did there.
Maybe we're supposed to. Dang. Okay.
And so I get called to pick up a shift. I'm picking up an additional shift for one of my managers. And when I come in, my boss tells me, hey, well, you can just give me the keys and hit the road. Like, we don't need you today. I mean, what do you mean that you don't need me today? I was ready to pick up a shift. I'm picking up a shift for Aaron. And he says, well, we found out, we're basically letting you go, actually. We're letting you go from the car wash. At this point, we believe that you've been stealing from the till. And at this point, you can just say nothing and go, and we won't report anything, and we won't call the cops.
Whoa.
And I stopped, and I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm going to come down there, and we're going to have a conversation about it. So I get down there, and I'm basically, he's trying to work. He's walking through the car wash, and I'm basically telling him, hey, you're making a big mistake. Like, I didn't do anything. Like, I'm not stealing. I said, you could fire me for any other thing, but this is like a serious moral, integral issue, and you're going to let me walk away thinking I'm a thief.
Right.
I said, I want to talk with the owner. I said, I don't want it to stop here. I want to talk with the owner. He's like, look, man, if at this point it is what it is, he said, and talking to the owner is probably not going to make it worse. At this point, we're basically telling you that you can just walk away. You can walk away, and you're not going to have any issues.
So he's thinking, I'm doing you a favor, bro.
Yeah.
Not going to call the cops on you. If someone calls for a reference, I might not even give you a bad reference.
Yes, that's exactly what he's telling me. And
okay.
So,
which is, if you are stealing, that's a good deal.
yes.
But
But I wasn't stealing. And
Right.
at this point in my life, everything else around me would point to the signs that, when he looked at me, what my background was, where it seemed the trajectory of where my life seemed to be heading, some of the decisions I was making, I understand why he was preforming some of those conclusions, or at least backed it. But anyway, I talked to the owner. The owner pretty much told me the same thing. Hey, you need to just let it go, man. We're done here. And so there's nothing else I could do. Now we fast forward. I'm in the Navy. 2 years later, I'm laying in my bunk in a shipyard, and I get a Facebook message from my manager in the car wash, basically saying, "Hey, I've been thinking about this for the past 2.5 years. This has really been bothering me, but I want you to know that I know you didn't steal that money,
whoa.
and that the guys that was the manager you were taking a shift from, and that ended up coming out later."
Oh, whoa. So you were covering for this dude, and he had been stealing, so they look at...
he wasn't even covering from him. He just didn't really know. Because I had
Okay.
even asked him, I said, because there was a camera that always hung up there in the car wash, and I asked him back in that point, I'm kind of jumping around here, but I asked him, I said, well, why don't you just pull up the camera and you can see if I've been stealing or not?
Yeah.
And they said, well, it's actually not been on. And I said, how convenient.
Jeez.
In this
Yeah.
case, that the camera that would have caught me stealing if I was stealing is now not valid. But so you're just making complete
Wow.
conclusions based on nothing.
So everyone was legitimately genuine
Yeah.
in what they thought the truth to be. But then over the course of 2.5 years, at some point, this other manager came out. And
He didn't even come out. They found out that one of the other guys that they were doing it
Oh,
together
okay. All right.
came and told Jason that, hey, this is what's been happening. He found out that this guy had been stealing money out of the till.
And
it
2.5 years later.
Yeah. But 2.5 years later, he tells me, but he
Yeah.
said it had been gnawing at him for about 1.5 to a year
Oh,
once he
wow.
found out. And at that same point in time, he was actually talking about how I've become a Christian, and I really feel like, hey, this could come back to bite me, but I really feel like I need to clear my conscience. And with how passionate you were about wanting to express yourself or clear your conscience, to then see where you're at. At this point, I'm in the military, and I'm great. I'm probably having the most success that I've ever had in my life, building a confidence that I had. I really didn't. It was a car wash job, and going through what I just went through, I'm like, this is life. Like, I'm doing real life now. I'm not in Granville in a car wash. But what that said to me about
Doing
him, like,
real
I still
life.
talk to him now because of that. Like, it actually rekindled a relationship, and I
Yeah.
actually think a lot higher of him than I even did then.
Yeah,
which-
that was a big deal because in a realistic mindset, thinking about that, you're like, this is not even a big deal. Not even $8 an hour, hundreds of dollars maybe stolen out of the till. It's not a $1 million enterprise for that till.
Steal from someone that's rich.
Or don't steal. Jeez, man. Don't steal.
At least make it worth your while. Is
It's
that what you're saying?
called taxes. All right, no politics
Sorry.
at this exact moment, although it is funny. All jokes, okay? We're all pretty funny people. It's all jokes. But this guy, it was a big deal to him because some point in the process he became faithful to Jesus Christ.
It was. I think so. It was two people with extreme integrity that might not have known why, and I was obviously passionate enough at pleading my case at that point in time that eventually he got passionate enough about really caring in either way, whether it meant anything to him. At that point, it probably meant nothing to him. He didn't have to share it, but he did, and
Yeah.
it made an impact on me. In fact, now I look at him in a higher form than I ever did.
Oh, absolutely.
Not the opposite, and that's two mature people, though.
Yep.
You know, that was me looking back and going, man, that took a lot for you to, to even think about me after 2.5 years, or to still be thinking about something as small as that is when I'm sure you have high turnover at a car wash.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you were probably the 50th person
Yeah.
in the life of that car wash for them to do that too. It's like, we know you've been stealing.
And my brother-in-law got me the job there, so that almost made it that much worse. Because now it looked like
It smears your brother-in-law's
smears
name.
my
Yeah,
brother-in-law's
no,
name.
man.
But yeah.
All right, let's jump back a
Yeah.
little bit. We got a military question, I know. Give it to us.
Do we?
What's on there? I don't know. How did you get in the military? Why did you go into the military? You said that you had been in the military for 2 years and you were experiencing probably the most success that you'd ever had in your life. So 2 years previous to that.
So can I go back to come forward?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Because I think my backstory will set the tone as to why I believe why I was having success in the military, and why I joined the military in the first place.
Well, this is NGRN, Next Gen Right Now.
Yeah.
So give us that Next Gen story, man. Give us a Next Gen story. What
So-
happened to you as a kid that put you in the military experiencing the most success you'd ever experienced?
As
ever?
a kid, I grew up in inner city Grand Rapids, which, if you're familiar with the area, is basically Alger Heights area is where I grew up. My mom divorced when I was 5 years old, and I would say both of my parents were good people, but extreme opposites. Like, I knew when I was younger, when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, it wasn't like, to me, some people like internalize that, like their parents got divorced because of them. For me, like, it was never that. Like, I looked at both of my parents and went, how did you ever get together in the first place?
Oh, jeez.
And I remember thinking that when I was seven years old.
Oh, my goodness, dude.
Because my mom was so emotional. And, you know, that's her, everybody's pros are also their cons.
Okay,
I
yeah.
believe.
Yeah, to a
their
certain
strengths
extreme.
are their weaknesses. And my mom is probably the most loving person that you'd ever met, most accepting, but also the most illogical person that I've probably ever met in my life. Everything was off of pure emotion, which that came through when you're a young man in a somewhat broken family. The love is really what you need.
Yeah.
My dad was kind of the passive dreamer, but very consistent, like worked in the same field industry up until recently when he just retired.
Oh, wow.
Worked the same job, basically a $50,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year worker his whole life.
But
so
a
really
dreamer.
consistent.
A
Really
dreamer
consistent.
at the same time.
Yes.
That's wild.
So basically my mom never worked for the most part. She lived off of the child support check that would sometimes come in from my dad. And I remember waiting in food stamp lines on Madison Street, and when it was roped off, you didn't just get it on a card. I remember going down there with her. So that was kind of like how we started. It was me, my sister, my brother, and my mom. And my
You
dad had
oldest, middle,
visitations. Yep,
youngest?
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
And my mom was the primary caretaker. My dad would have visitation on Wednesdays and every other weekend. And he was pretty spotty with that at most. So my mom had harbored resentment for that because he wouldn't show up, and then she'd watch our hearts break while I'm sitting out there with my bag on the curb waiting for my dad to show up. And you know, you start to fast forward. I'm just trying to set the tone of what my life was like growing up.
Yeah.
But my dad, when I did have time with my dad, I would say it's quality over quantity. Like, he was a good person. He was fun to hang around. He was wise, though he didn't necessarily show it all the time. You know,
Okay.
He was like the most patient person that I've ever met. You know, when he did get angry, I knew that he should be angry, but he rarely ever did. Fast forward all this out to I'm age to 12, 13, and my mom remarries a man who is my stepdad, and he brings 4 kids into the mix who were actually living in a somewhat abused life. And he got custody of his kids, brought them in. Now we're my mom, Don, me, my sister, my brother, and his 4 kids, 9 people are all living in a 2-bedroom house.
Oh, wow. Now, although a lot of people in a small house for that many people, was that the most fair situation that the courts could have devised?
Yes, like the things they had going on, it was
Okay, it was best to be with Dad.
it was crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was drugs. It was men in and out of their home. It was
Okay.
It was not a healthy
So for these 4
environment. For
kids,
the 4 kids, this was a
coming
step
into
up.
a blended situation, it was the best thing they'd had so far.
Yep. And my stepdad. So I think this is all subconscious. My stepdad was in the Navy, was in the military.
Ah, okay.
And so he brought a stability to our family that we'd never had. I mean, he was working, he could pretty much fix anything. He was working for the city of Wyoming as a maintenance tech and stayed there up until the point he retired.
Super useful.
Yeah.
Super useful, dude.
Big time.
Not as many of those people around
Still today.
Yeah, man.
He's 70 years old out there just doing jack of all trades
Yeah,
stuff, getting around,
super
fixing
useful.
people's stuff. Just has a great heart. Keep going forward, and my mother ends up getting diagnosed with a disease called RSD. Reflex sympathetic dystrophy is what they called it, and in effect maybe like 1% of people. And she got referred to a pain clinic, MMPC. And at that point in time, we started taking her to the pain clinic once a week to get fentanyl injections. She was also on OxyContin, Vicodin,
Whoa.
all these things all at the same time. So she went from being super mom. We had a really healthy family dynamic beginning out. You could see her happy again. She hadn't been with somebody in a while, in a long time.
Okay.
And with Don coming back in the picture, there was this happiness, like, holy cow, we have a family. Like, so I felt it. I felt what that felt like. Now we start moving forward, and this is almost like what my stepdad has experienced in his 2 previous marriages. His first wife died of alcoholism. Second one is the one that I was just referring to that was up north that the kids were losing custody to.
Okay.
So he's gone through this multiple times. Now it's starting to happen with my mom. He doesn't recognize it. Keep moving forward. All of us kids end up, except for one of us, end up getting diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, because that's kind of what they were doing at that time.
Yeah, our generation, we were the ones. Man.
If you were didn't fit right inside that box, we got to medicate you. And for me, it was just a weird situation. By the time I got to as a high school and freshman, I was 75 pounds, and I'd been taking Adderall, Clonidine, and Remeron. And when I started to think about it, 16, I stopped taking all this stuff. Me and my mom had a conversation. I said, I'm all done. I was doing really well grades-wise, all that. Everything that it's supposed to do, it was doing. But I didn't feel like I was a real human being because I was taking...
Dang, bro. My mom says the same thing to me when I was on that stuff. She was like, I took you off of it because you stopped being Jake. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, it wasn't you. It was somebody else.
That's what I felt like.
I was like, dang. I've heard that from very, very few people, what you just talked about.
But when you think about it, it doesn't make sense. I said, I was taking Adderall for focus and discipline, which should be a concept that you learn through life if you want to be successful. I was taking a pill then to help me go to sleep because the speed that I was taking during the day wouldn't allow me to sleep at night.
Right.
And then because I was taking those 2, supposedly I was depressed, so now I had to take a Remeron to keep me happy. So to be focused and disciplined, I was taking one pill. To sleep, I was taking another. And then to be happy, I was taking another. So 3 major functions.
Wow.
3 major huge functions of your life I was relying on medication for. And this was all my siblings. I thought it was kind of ironic that at that point in time that all my siblings, everybody in our household was ADHD and on the same prescriptions.
Yeah, wow.
And
convenient for the drugstore.
Yeah,
But,
so that's a whole separate topic.
Yeah,
But
convenient for the insurance companies and drug companies too.
yeah, so there was that piece. So we start fast forwarding through this, and this becomes a real issue. Like my mom being on it, especially with my stepdad working like 80 hours a week to try and make ends meet for the 7 kids that were in the household.
Yeah.
So he's working, he's busting
Still the
his
same
butt.
house.
Yeah, still the same house. And now we move. We end up moving. I go through Elger, Iroquois on my way to Ottawa. My parents moved to Wyoming. I start at New Hall Middle School near the end of 8th grade. I pick up trumpet. And trumpet was kind of my thing that I think got me through high school.
How old were you?
I started playing when I was in 5th grade at Elger, but they didn't really have a real music program.
Okay.
They had some guy who just basically donated his time, and then they had a small little classroom that people would be able to meet in for a music program, and it was non-existent really. I mean, so that's what I started in. But my mom ended up pretty much, in my opinion, becoming addicted to these pills. You know, it'd be like she'd be laying in the chair, and we'd be getting up for school in the morning, and I'd ask her for lunch money. Instead of the $2, she'd whip out like a 50 after I just got done hearing my parents fight about finances the night before, to where I knew as a 15, 16-year-old kid that this doesn't make sense. Like, this is crazy. And then I also hear them fighting about finances. So a common theme here is just finances.
Yeah.
And my mom would go down to Walgreens and come back with like $100 worth of nail polish.
That's a lot of nail polish.
It's crazy. I don't even know how you could spend $100 on nail polish, but I'm sure there's some other people out here that know how to do it.
If you are a salon with multiple chairs, yeah, you might spend $100 on nail polish. Oh, man. Not an individual. Not an individual.
We keep
person.
going, and the oldest, Darren, he and I were the same age. So there was us. We were the oldest of my step siblings. There was my sister and my brother that were older ones. So he ended up.
Who's out there? Oh, dang, we got Dwight out there. Yo, you can come in.
So
You can come in.
My brother ends up.
If you walk around, you can talk. His gain is up, so you can talk through there, and we'll hear you.
You jump on in. But so my brother ends up passing away from a brain aneurysm at 17.
You're
my
legit stepbrother.
My stepbrother. Yep, we're both the same age. Ends up passing away from a brain aneurysm at 17.
You're just gonna walk in and walk out all awkward like that? I mean, the story's heavy.
They do have to you about yesterday. Remember the guy here said that
Oh,
one?
okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're taking care of some personal business here in a podcast. Love you, Dwight. For anyone that doesn't know, Dwight Hudson, he's my best friend.
He's the man.
He's the man. Eventually, I'm going to have a billboard. I'm saving my money. That's what all the funds from this podcast are going to my billboard that says Dwight Hudson's my best friend. Okay, your stepbrother, how long had he been in the situation? Since you were 12?
Yes.
So you guys were...
Actually,
there was a high potential for you and your stepbrother to be tight at that point.
We were close. We were very close.
Dang. He passes away from a brain
in school.
aneurysm.
We're at school together, and he falls down. The office calls, and before I know it, like, he's done. He's really done. Like, it was literally like we had a couple conversations. My mom was able to say something to him, and then they rushed him to the hospital. And after that, there was like no activity.
Whoa.
No activity. Nobody had any conversation with him. So this is really, like, I know this is a story. I keep going back to my stepdad, but I kind of think about the life he lived, and he reminds me of Job.
I'm checking time. Remind you of Job.
Yeah.
Let's take a commercial break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll jump back in.
Yeah.
The story of Job.
This podcast brought to you by the Book of Job. Job begins with the underserved suffering of the patriarch Job and reflects on the meaning of suffering and God's relationship to one who suffers unjustly.
Was that good?
It was super good. Super duper good. That was one of the best. It's the best clap we've ever had from a guest.
It's the first one.
All right, our coffees are refilled and all things are good. You had just stopped. I interrupted you. You just started to talk about Job. You said it was kind of like the book of Job.
So my stepdad is kind of what I'm referring to. So kind of backtrack this, talking about basically my life went from kind of a poverty-ish situation to my stepdad entering, kind of bringing some positive encouragement and just a different perspective on life. We fast forward, and some of that starts to fall apart. You know, I mean, and basically the wheels start to fall off the family. So the stability that I thought I had, now I'm starting to lose that again. My mom is on prescriptions, and He's losing his son. Then what we also have is his dad living with us, which that was probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I mean, that man was wise. He was 82, and basically we made the decision that he was going to die at home with the family. We weren't going to put him in a home. And so Grandpa Beckholt ended up passing away that year too. Well, he lost his, to summarize it, because I could spend a whole lot of time on there, he lost his son, he lost his mom, he lost his dad, all within a 7-month time frame.
Whoa.
And on top of that, he was kind of losing my mom in some ways. So this keeps going. There's a lot of dissension in the home. Who, my mom? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the relationship was so rocky because of the addiction, the pills. She wasn't at all who she was when he met her. I mean, it was complete opposite. She wasn't even the mom I remember. She went from being like super mom to coma mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what it was like. So he goes through this. They end up getting divorced through all the dissension. So he loses his family through death. He then loses his marriage. Shortly after that, he ends up retiring early and then loses the home, goes through foreclosure. So for the fact that this man is still alive,
wow,
is beyond me. And then even further than that, which this would be a whole other separate subject, is they end up remarrying down the road.
Oh my goodness.
And I kind of feel like
You now have to be a reoccurring guest. Go ahead and go on. There's too many good stories in you.
she,
Like 3 podcasts dedicated.
Yeah, the Kyle series.
it's just crazy, man. The way that the life has worked out. And at this whole time, I'm really not a believer. I'm not a believer throughout this whole. At this point, I'm 17, 18. And I move in with my mom. I kind of bounce around. My aunt and uncle take me on for a while. I'm really not sure where I want to go. I'm doing really well with the trumpet thing. That's leading me up for a scholarship to Michigan State University. And the one thing I think God was doing the whole time throughout this whole progression, whatever it is he was putting people in my life, like my band directors, just friends, to where I got to see what healthy environments were like, even amidst the fact that I was living in a very broken one. Looking at how that's all progressed, I move forward. I lose my scholarship to Michigan State for trumpet. I had all the talent level. I was in their honors band as a top chair for 3 years. That's which is how they do the recruitment. And I had the talent, but I didn't have the grades. So Fast forward, I start going to Grand Rapids Community College. Once they find out that I no longer have a scholarship with Michigan State, I play trumpet there. I'm working at Chase Bank. I'm also working, I end up losing that job. I work for a temp agency, third shift at a factory, thinking I'm making tons of money. Oh, I'm making $1,200 a month, $1,300 a month. This is great. This is still all before I met Lisa. And then I was also working at Starbucks during the day to keep me up for my third shift job at night. And meanwhile, I'm still going to college, quote unquote.
You did it with fingers together, bro.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. It's like this.
Not really going to college. You know, I mean, I'm
You sound
enrolled,
like-
but I'm
okay.
not going.
Not even one
Because
class.
I'm enrolled, but I'm not going.
Okay.
And so
Do you have a class load?
this is
You're
where
just
I then
skipping every one.
This is where I then meet Lisa. Yeah, I have a
Okay.
class load. I'm just not going
Okay.
because I'm more focused on making the money than I am my education.
Well,
So-
yeah, at a certain point,
The
survivability
security
mentality sets in.
and you think about everything I'm telling you. The poverty mindset is there
Yeah.
all along. So now I meet Lisa. Things start happening there, which I've already shared. I know that something drastic has to change in my life. Otherwise my life's not going to change.
So consciously, you're searching for an inflection point.
yes,
Okay.
Yes.
And this is your early 20s.
yes.
So,
Because the way I looked at it at this point, as crazy as it's going to sound, is I looked at if this is going to be the way my rest of the life goes, being constantly relying on family members to help me out or people to help me out, this isn't what I want out of life, me personally. Like, I want more than this. I had huge dreams of being a famous trumpet player. I had dreams of...
Well, you're still really good at trumpet.
Yeah, I am, but I don't think I want to do it for fame anymore. I think I don't have that intent. I just enjoy it.
All right, that's good. I don't think anyone should do anything for fame. But
Exactly. I know. I wanted... In that, what is that desire for fame? That desire for fame was because I never felt...
significant.
I never felt significant. And though I know I was loved, I never felt significant. There's a difference there.
Yeah, absolutely. So something has to change. You're literally consciously searching for it. The day comes. You'd met Lisa, the little kids. You'd seen them, and you're thinking, "Whoa, what am I doing with this?" And then you think, "Okay, no, this is for real. This is for me. This is for us." Then
And
the day comes.
I'm thinking, there's no way this is gonna work.
Babe, I'm going in the military.
Yeah. And the ironic part is that the date that I joined and left for boot camp is her birthday.
Oh man.
And so it says on the day I got in and the day I got out on my ID, on my military ID, is Lisa's birthday.
That's like, in the moment, that's not super cool.
No.
But now that's super cool.
Yeah, it wasn't cool when I was doing it.
No, it's not. So what was that
frankly,
day like?
Frankly, we weren't sure. You know, we were actually we broke up. She rode down with me to boot camp as I was getting ready to leave for boot camp. You stay overnight in a hotel and then they ship you out the next day.
Okay.
But we basically made a mature decision to basically say, hey, we're just gonna like separate while we do this thing. And if we come back together, sweet. But the reality is, I was joining during the Iraq War, during time of war, and so it was, well, what's the odds of me getting deployed potentially? I don't know. I mean, I don't know where I'm going to get stationed. I don't know how this is going to work out. We're already long distance. I'm young. You have 3 kids. I'm $30,000 in credit card debt.
Which will be rectified
yes.
if you go into the military for any length of time.
That's
especially
partly
if
what
you
I was
see
thinking.
action. Yep, there's some very realistic
Ways.
viewpoints of what you were doing.
Yes. So all of it was, I wanted to go back. I finally realized I wanted to go back to school. You know, I was working at a fire protection company, Segway.
Oh.
And I had a guy named Len Hemwall who was my trainer. As I was riding around, I'm sharing all these dreams and all these things I want to do. I'm excited about this job because it's my first non-temp job. I'm making decent money. And we get about 6 weeks into this training process. He said, dude, I'm going to let you know that with all these things you've been sharing with me, you're in the wrong place. He said, I've been working here for 12 to 13 years. And with everything you're talking about, it's going to take a lot more money. He said, Kyle, I make $2 more an hour than you, and I've been here for 12 years.
Wow.
So if you think that you have these ideas of grandeur, that you're going to be some kind of a manager someday here, or that you're going to have these step-up opportunities, he said, it's not going to happen. He said, everything you're sharing with me, you need an education. And that's when that started to sink in with me. I still stayed there for another 7 months, and that's where I ended up leaving that job when I went into the military.
A last little push from this guy.
Yeah, so all these things are starting to line. I'd already tried education, failed out of that, tried the workforce, failed out of that. All these ways that you could potentially be successful in our societal life path, I've tried them. I've done them. The only one I haven't done, that in my mind, is the military route. You know, the entrepreneurial route didn't seem real realistic for me because I didn't have the talents or the gifts to be able to jump out and do that at that point in my life. So I joined the military. And from that point, I feel like I had this creative side from having like no structure in my life while I was in my younger years, to then jumping into something that was so absolutely structured, like ridiculously structured. Like you don't know what you don't know. And I realized that I didn't have a work ethic to get to the places that I wanted to get before. You know, I looked at life, and I think society did a great job of teaching us how to perform at the higher level without giving me the fundamentals to just follow basic instruction or just do the little things in life that it takes to be the worker to eventually work your way up to that other position. So I walked into jobs with this idea of entitlement. Like, well, I've already been trained to do this job that's 2 levels beyond what you hired me for, and so I was never finding contentment in the job you hired me to do or doing it well because I really wanted to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Yeah. Well, in that, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Like you said, societal training. Society does an adequate job of keeping us alive for the most part. But you do get into a weird space of I belong 2 levels higher than what I'm currently at, but that person that's already 2 levels higher is like, boy, it took me 15 years
you're gonna work for
to
it.
get to this point. Yeah.
You want instant gratification.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's very much, this society these days. It's like the Book of James talks about: be slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to anger. And in today's society, with data happening so quickly, it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
Everybody's quick to anger, quick to speak, and slow to listen. Like we're living inversely of the wisdom that's found in that book.
Which is exactly what the enemy wants us to do. So it all makes sense to me, although it's not good or right.
But the military, I feel like added a certain level of structure. It was the first time in my life I didn't have to worry about money.
Yeah.
So like that survivor mentality, or having to look out for number one, went away. Now I knew I was going to get my paycheck. Like I was pretty confident I was going to get my paycheck. Now all I had to do, what they forced, was you better be thinking about other people. It was honor, courage, commitment. It was integrity. I mean, when I went into boot camp, they basically take away. They don't tell you this, but me looking back at it, they take away all the things that we think are inherent rights in America. I couldn't talk. They took away sleep. They took away all my rights. I mean, they shaved my hair down. There's no individuality. I don't care if you think you like to have long hair. I don't care if you think you want to have the hippest trends with your jeans. I don't care if you want to wear those nice glasses. We're going to give you these really, really ugly glasses called birth control goggles.
Yep. Yep. I've not been in the military, but I've had enough friends along the way that I've seen them.
And so then you
They're
get out.
They're durable, though, man.
They are.
They're
They
durable.
are.
I might wear a pair now. But,
They'll probably come back.
You got to be married for 10 years.
I think they're in now. The thick frames are back in there.
They are. So you found your inflection point of the military.
Yeah.
You make your way through with
Yes.
some level of forced integrity.
Yes.
Although maybe
But now
some
it's become
ups and
now
downs
it's become
within.
it's become a reality. Like I was averaging probably 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night when I was in the military. I mean, and part of that's not everybody takes that path, but I was so like ready to go and because I knew I was only doing 4 years. Like for me, I wasn't thinking about doing, like, although I wasn't completely closed off to it, but I went in, especially with the family dynamic. 2 years in, Lisa and I proposed to Lisa.
Oh,
So
while
we,
you were
we end
still
up,
in.
We end up getting back together, but she stays back in Grand Rapids. I'm in Norfolk, and I'm glad we didn't try to move together because 80% of my time I spent out at sea anyway.
Okay.
So I would have moved her away from a support system to a place where she's not going to see me anyway, and I think that would have failed out. It probably would have, because then there would have been the resentment for moving to a place. Now you're lonely, you have no support system, and I'm gone. And then even when I'm here, I still have to be back to the ship by 3 or 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I come home just to sleep, lay next to you, and then I'm gone again.
Yep. People also experience that with different shifts.
Yeah, it's exactly. I mean,
when they work first and second shift or second and third
it's
shifts.
correlated.
It's super difficult.
But it was the most challenging time in my life, but I also feel the most rewarding, and not for the reasons I signed up for. I signed up for money, to get a free education when I got out, and some potential on-the-job training, and to be able to get out of debt. Because the way I thought about it is, in the military, I'm not going to have any costs.
Right.
Okay, like I don't have to anyway. They're going to pay for my room and board. Yes, I slept on a ship for 4 years. They're going to pay. I didn't need a car because I didn't have to go anywhere. I'd just hop a ride with buddies, or I'd pay their bar tab, or I'd do whatever it is. We'd go around together, and I didn't have a car bill. So I ended up getting myself out of credit card debt over the 4 years, and we were basically almost inverse of that. So now I get out, and I go back to school. And I'm able to now get my degree, my finance degree, in 2.5 years. I'm working with Family Capital Management as an intern. And the cool part about that is I've learned from everybody from the secretary on up. So I started at the bottom, where every single person has trained me to where I am today. And the culture there is amazing.
How long have you been at Family Capital Management?
5 years.
Okay, so in 5 years you went from paid or unpaid internship?
It was paid hourly. and it was a win-win because I was still getting my stipend from the government.
Okay.
To go back to school.
Did you know when your stipend was going to run out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's when you get your degree, right? So,
yeah.
So
what
that's
I'm
when you know
looking
you're
for
done.
is you had an inherent sense of urgency to do well, think well, perform well, change well, and progress well before the stipend ran out, because when that stipend runs out, you're not going to make it on internship hourly.
Well, and it was a faith
rate.
leap anyway. I mean, for me to get out, they were starting to throw signing bonuses at me of like $60,000 just to stay in because of some of the qualifications I had. And for me, I'd already told Lisa I'm getting out because to me it wasn't worth the sacrifice. Like I was starting to miss my kids. We were having Cora. Like I came home just for her birth and I had to leave again, so I missed the first 2 months of her life. A lot of people missed their kid's life completely, so like my situation really isn't that bad compared to others.
Right.
I had a senior chief that basically told me, Kyle, whatever you do, you're going to be gold, man. He said, whether you stay in, he said, I'd love to see you stay in. I know that you'll bless a lot of lives if you stay in. He said, I also know that you'll do the same if you get out, just because of who you are as a person. He said, so the one thing I'd tell you is that I've grown up. I've stayed in the military for, now I'm in it 18 years.
This is your senior.
This is my senior, yep. And he said, you know, and I'm inquiring with him to kind of weigh in, you know, a wise man seeks counsel, you know. And so I was talking to him before I made my final decision to get out of the military, and he said, you know, my kids are the biggest sacrifice that I made. And he said, they've all turned out well. Like my wife did a phenomenal job raising my kids. I still have a good marriage. He said, but I don't feel like I have any credit in raising my kids. I feel like I was gone so much that I don't really have that relation, and now I'm going to be making it up on the back end. And so when he kind of started talking about that, like here's a happy, successful guy who enjoyed it, but he gave me the right data for me to start weighing. You know, I don't want that. I want more than money and more than financial security now at this point, when I was the person who that's why I joined the military in the first place. Now what I want is quality time. I want to have memories built up with my family. Yeah, so that was my main driver for getting out. I got out for all the opposite reasons on why I joined.
Wow, you learned a lot over that 4 years.
So for me, yeah, I mean, it was a pivotal moment, and what it did is it set me up to come out into this world. I wanted to maintain that high level, those high standards that the military forced upon me initially, that then became inherent and adopted out here, but come with a service mentality. Because I've already kind of felt like what it's like to have nothing. Now, if I can keep my own lifestyle low, how much could I benefit other people and really have gifts and real fulfillment in life?
Yeah. Whew, that's another pod. You and I have talked about that. Living so far beneath your means that you are always ready, planned or spontaneous, to bless someone in need. That's a whole nother podcast, man. It's for real. Like I knew that you were a super special dude, but all these stories are just they are a podcast within themselves. We're gonna have to do something.
Yeah, I just think
we're just gonna have to do something. We got to segue into this last question though, because it is.
I'm sorry.
It is nothing to be sorry about, because you're gonna be able to build a beautiful bridge from your growth from childhood into adulthood, including everything that you just talked to us about. Because this next question is a heavy hitter, but you've already got all the data because you've already shared it. You're just going to have to condense it into bullet points, maybe.
How much time do you have left?
We have 10 minutes.
That's good.
Which you'll be able to do it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I love this question, so bring it to us.
How are you teaching your blended family the lessons that you just spoke about for the past hour?
So give us a breakdown before you answer. Oldest kid to youngest kid.
We have oldest is 18, our middle is 16, and then we have a 15-year-old or 14-year-old. So 18, 16, 14, and then those are my stepdaughters, although I wouldn't refer to them as stepdaughters. We've been with each other for 10 years now at this point, and I just view them as family. And then I have the two. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Most of it, yeah.
Yep. And then two we've had together. So I have 4 daughters and 1 son. And outside of the teenagers, we have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
So knowing that, how are you imparting upon their lives all the lessons that you've learned so far in your life
I'm very intentional about it.
to ensure that they grow up to be
I am
good
extremely
human beings?
intentional. That's my main focus. Exactly what you just said is my main focus. It's like we, as parents, you can get hung up on performance traits. You can get hung up on those type of factors. Is my kid top ACT? My kid's going to Harvard. My kid's going to Yale. My kid's not. You know, you can get hung up on all those performance standards. And for me, what my main goal is, you can't control people. Period. You can influence people, and influence comes through respect and love. Is what I believe. So for me, when I look at my kids, what I'm trying to raise is thoughtful. Basically thoughtful, flexible people. I mean, I want them to be kind. I want them to do the things that aren't commonly seen in the world. I want them to think of others before themselves, and not to a point where they're not doing right by themselves, but enough to where they're not selfish. You know, because that's what I believe. I believe that all the blessings that have started to come in my life go early when I was in that poverty mindset, and this is the irony that comes with it, is I was only thinking about myself because I felt like nobody else would. Now we get to this point in my life, and I'm like, you know what? I've been blessed with a lot of things, and I just feel like at this point in life, the life that I've walked, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's given me so much to think about, so much to be grateful for in ways that I can impart it on other people.
And it makes you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want my kids to grow up and have a story that they then use to change and bless the world. I mean, they'll learn the data sets. Life will show them that, and that's constantly what I go back and forth on is this a moment that I should be teaching them? Or is this a moment where I should let life teach them? And those are the two main factors that I use to help guide my parenting. Is this a time where we need to sit down and talk about some of the decisions you're making and have a conversation about it back and forth? I mean, there's certain times where it's just, no, don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
And there
Yep,
doesn't
absolutely.
doesn't have to be some big long discussion. But my punishment in the house, if you ask my daughters, would be the amount of time that I steal from them by having long-winded conversations like this. You know, something happens, and it's
It's a great punishment.
well, why did this happen? I forced them to start doing some self-reflection. Why? How did you wind up here?
Yeah.
Is this what you really wanted? Is this the desired effect that you were really
Yep.
hoping for and didn't know that that's
Yep.
what you were hoping
It's
for?
not just my parents that do that.
No, it's not just your parents.
No, it's not. And I do that. I did not know that you did that, but I also do that.
'Cause
even with my
It's all about
4-year-old son.
facilitating. If you can help people come to a realization,
Yeah.
they will. So for me, it's not even separating. Like I look at them all as one, but no kid can be parented the same. I mean, you can have basic concepts and basic foundations and
Yeah,
things, but
absolutely.
you know, when talking to my 18-year-old compared to my 16-year-old, me and the 18-year-old having really deep conversations, and maybe me and the 16-year-old will at some point.
Right.
But right now, that's not really her style.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not going to connect with her by having a really deep conversation.
Life focuses are still far enough different.
It is.
So where 18-year-old, they maybe been, just an easy example, maybe they've been driving for
and
a
my
couple years.
14-year-old's a bulldog.
16-year-old is just starting to drive.
Yeah, my 14-year-old's a bulldog. She's like almost gotten the benefit of looking at her older ones and is actually like trying to learn from their mistakes. And so then when I try to impart the same maybe parameters or limits on her life,
Yeah.
she doesn't feel like they apply to her because she's not going to make that mistake. That's constantly the thing that I get. Well, I'm not going to do that because I got to watch what they did. I won't do that.
Yeah.
Why don't you trust me?
Oh, dang. Why don't you trust me? Yeah.
I get that automatically.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's trying to balance it with career and service, still wanting to serve other people, community, wherever I run into people. I look at every single interaction with somebody as an opportunity to serve them. And I feel like the lens that I focus on people through is the positive things. Like, for me to start chopping you down and becoming negative is never going to benefit you, in my opinion. I mean, I'd be better off to just say nothing.
Right.
And just go about my business than to be a negative seed in your life and plant a seed of doubt. So for me, it's constantly seeing people for what they could be or what they want to be if they express that, and looking inside myself, is there anything that I have in my bag of life Or is there anything that I have in my resources, or is there anything that I have from who I am as a person that I could give to them, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a resource, whether it's a story? Is there something that I can give to them to help them get to the next level or go where they want to go? That's how I'm raising my kids. That's how I look at people. It's like I don't segment that. I don't segregate that.
That's awesome. So I'm hearing one thing, really, really, really cool way that you do punishment is long-winded conversations. I love that. The reason I love it is because I do it. I think it's right. That's another reason why I do it. I don't focus on the negative either with my kids. It is always searching for what they believe, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many, that got them to where they are at, in trouble, sitting on the stairs in timeout, right? So if they can discover that pathway, maybe instead of at step 5, they think, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Maybe they catch it at step 2 or step 1. That's my goal with the punishment side. Now, on the daily, do you do anything that is positive reinforcement with your kids? So there's every once in a while videos that come across all different social media platforms that there's a mom or a dad with their kid in front of the mirror speaking amazing things over the kid's life. Anything like that, maybe I don't personally do things that extreme. I say one simple prayer over my kids every morning and every evening, which is, I love you, God loves you, Jesus loves you, the Holy Spirit loves you, and remember, I love you too. I say that to my kids. That's my positive reinforcement, because that's, if nothing else, I want them to know that. Do you do anything like that with your kids every single day, ranging from the 18-year-old all the way down to the youngest?
I would say probably not. I mean, every night I take my younger two, put them on my shoulders, take them up to bed. We read stories. We have quick conversation, put them to bed. It's the same routine every night. But with the older ones, they're kind of in a phase now where it's like you got to kind of manage, how much space do I give you?
Okay.
Compared to still this, that perfect line where they want all the love and all the rewards with no responsibility.
Right.
So how do I manage that? How do I manage giving them love at this point? So pretty much whenever they're home, our oldest is constantly working. We don't see her very often at this point, it feels like. I mean, we're still
got a job.
We're still connecting.
Most people don't have jobs when they're
But she knows. I'll send her a text here and there. It just says, hey, love you, thinking about you.
Okay.
Things like that. With my older two, I'm seeing them more frequently, and so I have the opportunities when I get home from work, I walk over and I give them a hug. I give them a hug and a kiss. It's those types of things. Then I get about my business. It's,
yeah, absolutely.
But it's going to be those little moments that I think they're going to look back on, because I look back on those with my parents, even amidst all the stuff. I look back and focus on the good things, and I focus on the things that they did that I didn't understand at the time. They were planting seeds that I look back now, man, if I would have listened to that, but then my story wouldn't be as cool.
Right, yeah. Yep.
So I'm glad life just worked out the way
Yeah,
it did.
it did. And it worked out really good. We are coming to the end, I think. Yeah, we are still recording. We got a few seconds left. So we do have to end it. You will be a guest again for sure.
Yeah, maybe I can be more focused on the
You
next
got
one.
way more stories in there, man. Way more stories. But we do have to end it, so we will do a proper outro. This is NGRN presents the ForkerBurger Podcast. I am your host, Jake.
And I'm Andrew.
This is our featured guest, Kyle Kelly. Thank you for talking with us today.
Thank you for your time.
Amazing content. Our absolute pleasure having you on. He will be a reoccurring guest for sure. Thank you, brother, a whole bunch.
Thank you
for coming on and talking to us. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Turn on the notification bell so you know when these go up. Yeah.
Everything that's good, do it.
Yes, definitely. Every single week.
Yeah.
If you need a church home to go to, come and see us. All right, 6070 Cuts Hill Drive, Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. Thank you. We'll be here. We hope to see you. All right.
Yeah, we'll see you next week Sunday.
Yeah, boom.